Hello YouTube friends, I'm Nicola, this is Stitches and Slapdashery, and I want to say first, Happy New Year! As I'm recording this, it's the 3rd already. I took a little break after my review vlog of, when did I do that one? December 30th. I hope you enjoyed your New Year's festivities, whether they include going out partying with friends and seeing the new year in with fireworks and bling, or, like me, sitting on the couch with your crochet and a cup of tea and going to bed early. What I did do on New Year's Eve, I tuned in to Kate's video, The Last Homely House. She had a video that she had pre-recorded and it came out at 11 p.m. her time and it was an hour long. But the chat was live. She was there in the chat with everybody else. There were thousands of people in that chat. It was fast and furious. So her video was sort of a review of what she did in 2023, and she was replying to some of the comments in the chat, and that was nice. So that was 3 o'clock in the afternoon for me. I set an alarm so I didn't miss it, because I had nothing else on my schedule. So that was awesome. And so I made sure I was watching it on my laptop. I barely ever use my laptop anymore. I just do nearly everything on my phone now. But when you want to type fast, an actual keyboard is a pretty handy thing to have. New Year's Day was very low-key as well. I did amp up my dinner efforts a little bit, because I was just going to make soup, and in the end I made something a bit more work intensive, but it went down well, so I'm glad it did. So one thing I did do before the year ended was I popped into the fabric store while they had their Boxing Day sale on, and I bought a couple of bits of fabric that went with the one that my son bought me for Christmas. This is the fabric that I had had my eye on for some time. And my son bought me half a meter of that along with a few other fabrics. So what I decided to do is I wasn't going to go mad. I just went in there and I amazingly just bought what I went in for, because my husband was with me and I'm like, okay, I can't be too long. And I didn't know how busy it was going to be. I thought, oh, if it's really busy and there's lines at the cutting tables, I could be ages, but there weren't. So I bought these 2 fabrics to go with it. That one and that one. They're part of the same range, so they all coordinate beautifully. Another thing I've done, because I mentioned in my last vlog that I wanted to start planning for craft markets this year, is I've uncovered my dry erase board on the wall over there. For the last few months, it's had a big piece of batting over the front of it because I used it as a design wall when I made a quilt earlier in the year. And I don't know about you, but I'm one of these people who likes to see things written down. I have so many things going on in my head right now. The other night, I was trying to go to sleep, and normally, I mean, it's not urgent. It's not like I have to get up early the next morning. But it's just annoying if you're lying there for an hour and all you can do is think, and then you turn over and you think some more. And if I can write things down, it kind of gets it out of my head so I can sleep. Yesterday, one of the things I did was pin the batting out the way, and I got my, what do they call them? Dry erase markers. And I made a list. I made a list of all the things I want to get done and all the things I'd like to make and the order in which I'd like to make them. Sort of. I have to decide on exactly what at the moment. And I also wrote down the things that I want to make just for myself, because I can't forget about those. If I'm sewing like mad for a craft market, I still want to make things for me. So that's done. My board is full of writing now, and I feel a lot better. Makes you feel more organized, even if you haven't actually crossed off anything off the list. One of the things I do intend to get is I need to order one of those little squares called a square. You've probably used them when you've been out and about these days, especially when you're out at outdoor craft markets or anywhere where it's not a bricks and mortar store. People need a wireless way of taking payment because hardly anyone carries cash anymore. I've got a friend who does a lot of the markets. She's always posting to Facebook about her products and things that she's at. And I said to her, so, you know, do you really need one of these? And does anyone actually pay cash? And she said, hardly anybody. And I thought, what's the point of limiting myself by only taking cash when I can have one of these little squares that hooks via Bluetooth to my phone? People can just tap it with their debit card or whatever. Whew, another exciting step. Whenever I get to these sorts of steps, I kind of hold back a little bit and I have to kind of push myself up the next step. It's like it's just a little bit too, it's like a staircase where the steps are just a bit too high. And instead of just going up the stairs like it's easy, it's an effort. And I have to talk myself out of not doing it. I'm sure a lot of us are like that. It just seems like it's too much to learn or whatever. It was the same with this vlog. It was the same with learning how to use Canva or Viva Video or anything like that. I have to push myself over the hump. So, yeah, that's another hump to push myself over. Get that ordered, because that will be a good thing to have. On the subject of my husband's adventure with cancer, he had an appointment today for a dental x-ray and check, because apparently the treatment can affect your teeth. And he's had for years and years and years, presumably since he was a teenager, this wisdom tooth that never came through, and it must have gone forward in the roof of his mouth. And he thought, well, it's not an issue, I'll just leave it there. And every now and again, maybe every 6 months, it would just give him a bit of niggling pain just to remind him it was still there. Well, he had the x-ray today and he had to talk with the oral people. I don't know what you call them, dental people, not sure. And they said it's got to come out. So he now has an appointment on Friday where he has to have surgery to have the wisdom tooth out, which means it's delaying his treatment by a week. He also has an appointment with the dietitian tomorrow. And then I guess next week he'll just be recovering from having the top of his mouth opened up and trying to eat or get some sort of nutrition in with a very sore mouth, and just mentally preparing for a later start date. So on that subject, I did go to Michael's today. His adventure scarf is getting further into the planning stages. So I had these 3 colours in the Lion brand Heartland from my friend. She gave me a whole bag of this stuff. Oh, it's so soft. And I know from making that pink beanie how nice it is to knit with. So this is Cobuck Valley. I don't know if that's how you say it. And this is Redwood. And this is Yosemite. So those three are the colors I have. And then I went to Michael's and bought 3 more. Obviously, I didn't know what colors they would have and if they would have enough. But seeing as I had at least 2 of the ones I already had in the stash, I bought 2 more of each of these. So I have Olympic and Canyonlands and Rocky Mountains. So between all those 6 colours, I think we're going to be able to make something rather nice. So rather predictably, the red is going to be for blood work days. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit a tube. So I will just knit. It might be 2 rounds a day, it might be 3, it depends what happens, right? If he has blood work, chemo and radiation all one day, he's going to have 3 stripes in his scarf. So I think the red is going to be blood work, and then it might also, hopefully this won't happen, but if there's any unforeseen circumstances which are a problem, then I might include this again in the scarf, but maybe in pearl or with yarn overs to make a sort of eyelet pattern across. I can always change up the meaning of it by changing the stitch a bit. So he liked this color the best. So the green will be the radiation color because that's what I think there'll be most of. For the chemo, he was going to do the rust. I think the blue, I said to him, I think the blue should be for rest days because blue is a nice calm color. So that would be for weekends. So there should be at least 2 stripes of blue for every week. And then these could be for mood days, so up mood, down mood. Like the purple, he seems to think would be a down of a day, and the mustardy gold would be an up day. I said maybe this mustardy one should be for if he feels nauseated, but he didn't agree with me on that. Anyway, hopefully he won't feel too nauseated. He has 3 different medications for that. So hopefully that will keep it at bay. So that will give me something, a little creative outlet to focus on during the challenges of the 7 weeks, which he's apparently going to be receiving treatment. I did try and convince him that maybe it's time to start learning to knit now. He could use a distraction. I mean, obviously he's going to be going to work every day for as long as he feels up to it. Maybe towards the latter part of the 7 weeks, he's probably going to have very little energy and not feel like doing much at all. He's saving the Lego set that he got at Christmas from son number 3 for days like that. But that's going to be just a couple of hours of entertainment. I think he needs more than that. I think he should learn to knit. He hasn't agreed with me yet, though. As far as my other works in progress are concerned, I don't have them down here in the sewing room right now. They're up next to my couch. I have picked apart quite a lot of the ugly granny squares. I'm still not sure what to do about those. I don't know whether to carry on making more or just figure out what to do with the ones I have. I could probably make some small blankets for the SPCA, for cage blankets, by just joining maybe 6 together in groups. That would be kind of nice. I think I might have convinced myself just now. As for the cross stitch, that's come along quite nicely. I'll show that to you later. I'll probably not finish filming this vlog today. I'll probably add to it later today or tomorrow. So I'll bring that down. And yes, unfortunately, the crocheted festoon shawl with sock yarn has not really grown any since the last time I showed you. One of the things I would like to do is to make some display baskets. If I'm going to have a stall at a craft market, I need to have something to put my stuff into that looks nice. And obviously a little bit of shelving would be nice, but I've seen so many pretty baskets out there on YouTube. And I think the one I'm going to try is Rosie's fold flat fabric basket. Oh, I said it. I've said before, F's are kind of hard with the braces. And that is well, it's exactly what it says, really. It's a lined fabric basket, which you just do with interfacing. She just uses SF101, which is just a medium weight woven. And what's nice about it is when you're not using it, it just literally folds flat. And hers is made to fit a stack of fat quarters, but she has a worksheet so that you can figure out your finished dimensions and then how big you need to cut your fabric in order to get what you want. So I think what I'm going to do this afternoon is a little bit of experimenting. I'll probably make the size she makes in the video and see what that looks like. And then I will try out some different sizes, because it would be nice to have a smaller basket for small items and a bigger basket for big items, just because they look nice. So I'll talk to you again in a bit. It'll be a second for you and maybe some few hours for me. Well, as promised a second ago, it's a few hours later. And by the time I had edited that little bit of video earlier, it was time to make dinner. So I did that first. So I got down here this evening. It's really warm in here. This is a really warm sweater. And of course, it's a small room. And when I've got the iron on the go, it heats up in here quickly. Whew. So I made 2 of Rosie's fold flat fabric baskets. I only was going to make 1, but I sort of went into autopilot. So once I knew the size of the fabric I was supposed to cut, I cut 2 of everything. So, I mean, it's efficient, right? It's efficient to make 2 at a time, because you could production line sew them. And 2 just doesn't seem to take any longer than 1 when you do it that way. I somehow got the direction of the print different on each one, though. The one I prefer is this one. Threads hanging off here. Oh, little bits everywhere. So this one, the print is horizontal. It's a really pretty print. It's an upholstery fabric. It's a cotton one. And so because it's got a little bit of weight to it, I didn't interface the outer layer. I just interfaced the lining. I used a really sort of nondescript lining because people aren't really going to see it. And I didn't want to waste my prettiest fabric on the inside of a basket. And it sort of coordinates. And came together pretty easily. The only thing I would say is you have to be really careful with your folding. Most of this basket construction is in the initial prep. You have to do a lot of interfacing, ironing, fold into it, and doing stuff before you actually get to the sewing part. And the sewing part's really easy. It's just 2 seams and then 2 more seams and a top stitch. That's it. I think 4 seams and a top stitch is all there is. And if you put your fingers in there, you see these, can you see that? There's this triangular bit on the inside of each end of the basket. If you put your thumbs in there and pull, it miraculously folds flat. Look at all the bits of fluff there. Oh dear. Oops, shouldn't have pulled that. I've got a long thread sticking out. Please avert your eyes while I use my fabric scissors to trim a thread. For some reason, I have no snips down here. So I'm really pleased with that one. The other one came out with the print vertically. I don't know how I managed that. What can I say? I didn't come down here till 7 p.m. I went on autopilot for a while there. And yeah, I mean, it's still pretty. I think I prefer the print the other way around. And again, whoop, folds flat. So I really like that. Unfortunately, I had planned just to make one that size and then experiment with a larger sizes. So I have two this size, which 7 inches, I think they work out when they're opened. They should be 7 by 5 by 5. It's a pretty good size. I think I would like it to be deeper because if I have product to display, I would probably want to display it that way. So when I say deeper, I mean front to back. I don't mean top to bottom. I have to think about that. Okay, I'd say that's a successful evening of sewing. Before I go, I will show you how I am doing with my cross stitch. At the moment, this is what I have on the seahorse. Her head is finished and I've done a sort of spine line down there. I think it turned out okay. I used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shades of blue on the head alone and a couple of shades of green and then 2 shades of purple already. This purple area here is the sort of head fin, and there's a different shade of purple down the body. Oh, I'm pleased with that so far. Didn't look as bad as I thought it was going to be. And then, yeah, the disaster that is my granny square project. I did start crocheting another one. Oh, isn't it garish? And I also found one that I had made and didn't originally use, so I will use that eventually. But I've basically just ripped open some of the seams and I have a couple of sections now. Gee, this is probably a good size for an SPCA blanket. It's 4 by 3. Yeah, there's an idea. And then my other piece is, it's a really weird shape. It's like an L shape. Yeah. So I think the idea of SPCA blankets is probably a good one. I'll keep them small because when I volunteered at the SPCA many, many moons ago, the cats each cat had a cage which was about maybe 3 feet deep by 2 feet across, something like that. And they don't need a blanket that'll fill their whole cage because it would get really messy that way. They really only need it when the area they're going to sleep. That's all I've got to talk about today. I'm going to sleep on this, and if I've got some more to show you tomorrow, I'll add it on and probably have it uploaded by tomorrow night. Oh, talking of tomorrow night, I have a date with a friend to go to Aquaman. And she said it's at the theatre with reclining seats and to bring a blankie. And she'll even bring one of her squishmallows with her if I want to have a squishmallow to cuddle. I put out a call to my friends to give me some emotional props. I need some emotional props to support me right now. And I was feeling a little overwhelmed today. I think that appointment that my husband had today for his teeth, he definitely came home discouraged about it. Having to have the wisdom tooth taken out of the roof of his mouth, and then all of the bad news. I mean, it's almost always bad news, isn't it? These are the possible side effects. These are the likely lasting after effects. And yeah, I could see he was finding it too much today. so I'm there to support him as much as he needs, but in turn, I need support too. And so, yeah, I've planned some friend dates for the next week. So I'm really looking forward to those. It's the next day, January 5th. I almost said June. Definitely not June. Before I put my scarf on, I've got my mic on. I'll show you the scarf I had on, and when I put it back on, I'll have to fiddle with the mic again. But I've been cozied up with this colourful rainbow scarf today because I went out for a walk. And it's made from a pattern by Hannah Siegmund of the Cozy Cottage Crochet podcast. And she has done a lot of crochet designs. And it was actually written for a fingering weight yarn. I'm just going to put it on. Hold on a minute. Okay, hopefully that works. I'm not sure how long ago she designed it, but I know that I crocheted this around 2019. She designed it for fingering weight yarn, and I took the project to Switzerland with me when we went to visit my husband's family. And I'm pretty sure that was 2019, because it was, I think the year before COVID. And I took skinny yarn and a skinny hook, and I think I managed about half a dozen rows before I thought, this is too much of a struggle. I remember we were in this Airbnb that was in the lower part of a beautiful Swiss chalet with a beautiful view of more Swiss chalets and hillsides and green grass, and it was the summer, so I'm sure that there were lots of geraniums on the balconies. Switzerland is so beautiful in the more rural areas. And I remember it well because I was like, I'm not going to be making this in fingering weight yarn. So when I got home, I used a cake or two, maybe just one. It's very lacy. I think it's just one cake of a Lion Brand Mandala in the colorway Gnome, which is an amazing rainbow colorway, and a bigger hook. So the pattern became a scarf. So it didn't go to waste. And I wear it lots every winter. And it's such a cheerful thing to wear. Yeah, I went out for a walk earlier. It was a little windy. It's not that cold. I mean, really, we're having amazingly mild temperatures for this winter compared to before. But it was windy and a little bit grey and damp. And my hands were a teeny bit cold, but I persevered. I took out some yarn with me. I don't have the yarn label up here. I left it downstairs. But it's called Spindle something or other. It's a bulky acrylic, and it's not a nice acrylic at all. It really doesn't feel that great. But I made, out of the two balls that were falling apart and looking messy, I caked up 3 cakes with it, because on my little cheapy plastic winder, it was getting a bit overloaded, and I thought, okay, I'll split the 2 balls up between 3 cakes. And I took one of the cakes out in this little crocheted cake holder that I made a long time ago, because it's just perfect for a single cake. It goes over my wrist and I can work from it. I took an 8mm hook, one of my lovely Knit Pro waves, and I used up the whole cake while I was walking. And that wasn't crocheting all the time either. There was a period when I had to pull my hands inside the sleeves of my coat for a little while. One of my fingers was starting to feel a bit numb. But what I thought I would do is just start with my usual top-down beanie idea, and I'm doing it in a spiral rather than in individual rounds. And I just increased whenever I felt like I should. So I sort of used my standard increase, but sort of didn't worry about it too much as long as the circle was staying flat for the crown. And then, I don't know if you've seen my beanie tutorial that I put up last year, but I just measured the crown, and once it got to be about the size of my hand, which I know is around 7 inches, I started working straight. So that's like half a beanie done. Pretty darn quick. It's a bulky yarn, as I said, 8mm hook, so it grows quickly. And yeah, I wasn't walking fast. I didn't trip anywhere, don't worry. So what I'm going to do, I think I should probably save the other half of the beanie for another walk, because that would give me something to look forward to and to do while I'm walking. I really enjoy doing that. I think I'm going to have to come up with a word for walking and crocheting at the same time. You know, the Germans always have such great names for things, and I was thinking, okay, what could you call it? Walk, hook, walking, hooking, Gehhaken or something, Gehhaken. That would be walk, hooking. Or French, you could be marche, crochet. Oh God, that accent was bad. Marche, crochet. So walk, crochet. Crochet au marché. Oh, that sounds better. Crochet au marché. I might know a bit of German and French, but I'm not saying my accent's any good. I did learn it at school, but you know, that was a really, really long time ago. When I try and remember how long ago it was, it's scary. So that is on the go. That's going to be a portable project, which won't take long to finish. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I had to laugh, actually. When I reviewed the footage I recorded last night and I edited it, and I looked at myself in the second part, when I was at my sewing machine and showing you those fabric baskets, I was like, why didn't I check my hair? I had pulled off that big fleecy sweater because I had been too hot for a while. Pulled it off. When it was time to do a bit of filming, pulled it back on. Didn't even think to look at the state of the hair. I know I haven't got much, but it did look kind of funny. Oh well. Never mind. Yeah, what I didn't mention with this hat, it's probably going to end up being finished off like my adjustable crochet hat that I have on my blog, and I've had for years and years and years. Because I'm doing it in a spiral, it ends up with a step at the end. So in order to embrace the step, I crochet a sort of little tab that sticks out here, and then I put a button on the hat, and then you can button the strip that sticks out looser or tighter depending on how big your head is. It has a nice little feature anyway. So I'll have to see how big of a button I'm going to need from the stash. This is a half double crochet. So it's a fairly dense stitch, but definitely I can fit a button between the stitches, no problem. So I think that this vlog is probably long enough, and I will get it all uploaded for you. I need to do a little bit more fabric basket sewing today, and after dinner I'm going to the movies to see the second Aquaman movie, which I am looking forward to a lot. So I will say thanks so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your comments. Love to hear from you. As I've said, the vlog is still small enough that I can reply to every comment as long as I see them. Sometimes if somebody comments and I reply and then they comment back again, I miss it. But I do try and get back to everyone who comments. So, cheers. Yep, still using the Christmas mug. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you next time.